What's going on, everybody? I'm Eating Things, and you're watching Less Than Rhetorical, and we are talking today about the new filters for attacking and defending roles in the game of Rainbow Six Siege. These were put out at the beginning of this season. Maybe it was the season before, actually. I think it was the beginning of this season, where you can now filter between the different types of roles that are available. I want to talk about these filters, and then I want to talk also about the roles in Rainbow Six Siege. If you haven't played around with these, it's kind of cool, but there's some things that are helpful and some things that aren't. So let's get into it. First of all, let's start with the basics. There are three basic roles to the game of Rainbow Six Siege. One is entry fragger, two is support, and three is the flex role. Let's talk about what each of these roles do. The entry fragger, for example, someone like, let's see, Ash is typically the one that you would think of for a standard entry fragger, but I actually don't think Ash is a good entry fragger anymore. Let me see someone who's a good entry fragger. It really doesn't matter. Goodness, this is why I'm having this conversation. Actually, we'll take Buck for example. Okay, your entry fragger, Buck. Let's say your Buck is playing the entry fragging role. This person, their goal is to obtain map control. That is what the entry fragger does. He or she enters to gain map control on the map. He is supported by other operators, such as support operators, that assist him or her in getting that map control. All right, so the role of the entry fragger is to get your map control. The role of the support player is to help the entry fragger to get that map control. And the role of the flex player is to do a little bit of both. They might be helping to get map control, and they might also be at sometimes actually getting the map control. You'll notice that a lot of the operators in Rainbow Six Siege right now are geared toward a flex role. Buck is a great example. If you look at Buck's loadout, he's got a really great gun. Great gun means that he's really good for entry fragging. He's got the ability to clear his own utility that's in front of him, so he can clear utility out of the way to push in an entry. His perk is a really good perk to take close range gunfights, but also flip it around. He can also play vertical. If he plays vertical, he can force people out of certain areas, pushing them to other areas, then therefore making it easier for someone else to enter into those areas and gain that map control. He can use his hard breach tool to open up lines of sight, again, supporting the other players who would then take that map control. So you could make an argument that Buck is purely a flex operator, but I really don't like to think that there's only flex operators, only support operators, and only entry operators. I think that you can use any operator in any capacity. It's just some are much better at other roles than they are at entry fragging. So Thermite and Thatcher are a great example. Monty is another great example. You can use Monty to gain map control, certainly, but you can also use Monty to gain intel for someone else to take gunfights behind Monty. You can use Thermite to gain map control, certainly, but you can also use Thermite to breach walls, to move people around to cut off angles and to create opportunities for people to gain that map control for you. Thermite can also become a flex player, because if he breaches a wall, he can flex and now go become your entry fragger after that point. So, there's ways in which all of the operators can are in some sense a flex. Everybody's able to flex to some degree. Not as good as others, though. For example, I think Dokubi's a great example. She's a little weak when it comes to gaining map control because her guns are not super strong. But her utility gives her the ability to pinpoint where people are. And so if she needs to gain map control, she can be really strong with her utility. So, she could be used as an entry fragger in certain lineups. I hope that makes sense. I hope what I'm saying makes sense. The same roles exist throughout the game, no matter if you're attacking or defending. If you're defending, you have the same 3 operator roles. They do a little bit different things on defense than attack, but you've got your fragger, your support, and your flex. Your fragger role, though, is just more commonly known as the roamer. Your support role is more commonly known as the anchor, and your flex role is someone who kind of does both. And if you'll notice, if you watch Pro League play, almost everybody is a flex role. Almost everybody does a little bit of both. So Pro League has kind of moved into this like different sort of there's these modified roles where I may be an anchor, I may be a smoke player, I may be a mute player with a shotgun that plays close range, but I don't even start my play in the map, or in the base rather. I don't even start with that. I start, out away from the base, contesting map control, because your ultimate goal as a defender is to contest map control and prevent attackers from gaining the necessary map control that they need in order to execute. All right, so let's get back to talking about the different filters. Now that you have those basics, the different filters that you can apply here allow you to see operators by intel, anti-gadget, support, frontline, map control, and breach. This does not mean when I'm filtering this that those 3 roles no longer exist and that there's 5 roles. Intel, anti-gadget, support, frontline, map control, and breach. I guess that's 6 roles. That's not what that means. Notice that you've got under breach, Thermite, and Hibana, and Ace. But if I go to support, I've got Thermite and, wow, they don't put Ace under support. So under support, I've got Thatcher and Thermite, Monty, Glaz, IQ, and Buck. If I go to breach again, I've got Ash and Sledge in here. I've got Ram in here. I've got Buck in here again. But again, Thermite and Buck are on both of the roles. I would argue that you can have an Ace support player, even though it's not listed here. I would argue that you could have a Maverick support player, even though it's not listed here. It depends on who the rest of your lineup is. If, for example, I've got a lineup that is Ying, Ash, Blitz, Finka, and Mav, well, my Mav and my Ying can play my support roles in that lineup. My Ash and my Blitz can play my fragging roles in that lineup, and my Finka can be my flex in that lineup. Or vice versa, my Finka and my Blitz can play my fragging roles and my Ash, my flex lineup. But I think more likely Finka is going to want to stay alive longer and support the team, so it's going to kind of flex in a lineup like that. There's usually in every lineup two fragging operators, 2 support operators, and 1 flex operator. That's usually the basic lineup. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can get a little bit creative with it, but that's the standard lineup that you should expect to see in the game. If you switch between here, what is it that you see in each of these roles? Well, under Intel, for attacking side, these are the operators that are most likely to give you information. So I would go here if I wanted operators that would fit into my team dynamic so that I could get info for the rest of my team. Anti-gadget operators are operators that can help me either get the wall down, like Thatcher, Callie, Brava, Twitch, Fuse if used correctly, but also can clear utility for me, like Zofia or Flores or Ram, to be able to open up, the floor, and if used correctly, Zero as well. So these are just different operators that can be picked. I would argue that Ash can also serve as an anti-gadget operator, but again, that's not something that is often thought about. She's not thought in that term. She's usually thought as a frontline operator. Ash, Capital, Ying, Finka, Maverick can be, Nomad, Grim, Yana can be, Amaru definitely, and Nook. And Blitz. I guess I missed Blitz. So those are your operators which are considered to be on the front line. I don't know. Ash doesn't have to be on the front line. Again, I see her as more of a flex. Having a lot of utility that you kind of want to save to be able to help the team out with clearing out certain items when you get to the base. And once you've got the wall opened, Ash can be a really useful tool at that point to make sure there aren't Kifa barriers in your way, shields in your way, Maestro cams or Miras that you can break. It can just really help the team out with those things. Gaining map control, you've got your map control operators here. Lion and Dokkaebi, probably the most famous for slowing down or helping you clear roamers out. Same thing with Jackal. These are operators that they can do one of two things, like they can clear roamers or they can help you get into the base either quickly, like a rush plant with Sense and Grim, or you can have a rush with Amaru, or sneakily like with Nook. Gridlock also can cut off rotations. So, and then your breaching operators are just both soft breach and your hard breach. So your hard breach being Thermite, soft breach being Ash charges or Sledge or Buck. Zofia as well. If you look on the defense side, you've got different operators to contest that map control. Trapping operators, maybe you want to look here if your other team is prone to rush, then grab your trapping operators. If the other team really takes away your information or you're struggling with information, look at your intel operators. If you're noticing that the other team is bringing a lot of utility, like they're using their drones really well, you can bring Mute. If they're destroying the wall with hard breach utility, Bandit and Cade. Anti-gadget operators are here to take away the utility from the other team. Wamai, I don't know why Jaeger, Jaeger is on this list, good. Aruni, Tubaru to help you keep the wall closed. Warden to help see through smokes and things like that. If the other team is, say, working well as a team together, you can work well as a team to counter that with people like Doc, Castle cutting off lines of sight, Pulse below giving you information and supporting as you have somebody else up above moving around the map. Mira, Oryx to take care of shields, Azami to contest areas. You've got your anti-entry operators that can expand out again, slow down rushing, but also can really help those teams that, or help you against teams that like to take their time and work into the map piece by piece. Take somebody like a Goyo or a Castle, so that at the end, now that they've got all this map control, it took them so long to do it because, they were slow in doing so and they were methodical. Now you've got Goyo traps to deal with, Azami barriers to deal with, Legion goo mines at the last minute, Castle, and smoke. All of these operators really delay you even further. And then, of course, your crowd control operators can prevent certain people from going in certain areas, or can give you information as far as who's coming in certain areas, help you deny plant control. This whole, I will admit to you, this is not who I would call crowd control. Clash, yeah, I would, but and Tachanka, I would, but Mute, how is Mute a crowd control operator? You guys tell me in the comments below how Mute qualifies as crowd control. I mean, he denies information. He's a information denial operator. Maybe same thing with Vigil, but I don't see it. How's Cav a crowd control operator? I don't see that. I don't get it. So anyway, you tell me below what you think, but it is kind of nice to know if I've got teams that are doing certain things, like, hey, the attack is really bringing a lot of, they're really using their drones really well. Okay, I'm going to go over to anti-gadget and see what I've got, and maybe grab Mozzie and prevent them from getting all that information. So I think that's helpful, but you still need to know the basic roles in Rainbow Six Siege. You still need to understand there is a fragging role, there is a support role, there is a flex role, and understand what operator you're picking and how that operator is going to fit into that role. I'm not going to pick Thermite as my primary fragging operator. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I'm going to pick Thermite in games where I know I need to drone for my team, I need to allow my team to gain map control, and I need to assist them by opening up lines of sight to move people around to make it easier for them to gain the map control we need so that I can get in and plant. Like, those are the types of things that I'm thinking of when I'm picking a Thermite operator. Same thing with, like, if I'm picking, say, a Dokkaebi operator, I'm thinking about how do I gain the map control, clear roamers, and help my team and support my team in clearing that information, or getting that information and clearing those areas of the map. I hope this helps. I hope it makes sense. You still need support players. You still need fragging players. And you still need flex players who can do a little bit of both. Take some time. If you like this content, hit that like and subscribe button. And, we'll be back more with Siege training as we put out some more videos in the future. Be on the lookout for that. Thanks very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.